So next slide. When I first started learning, let's see what Beach Time said. Game needs to be treated like preparing for an interview. You should have a booklet of notes, scripts, scenarios, Q&As. You should be 100% prepared. You can only prepare so much, but you should be preparing. When I first started learning game, I kept a sheet of first aid questions in my pocket. If I ran out of things to say and started to choke, I'd excuse myself to the restroom and pull out a couple questions off my notes. You have to work at this shit in the beginning. Again, Dexter Day Game yesterday, he had set up a meetup during the day. He had his book of, I think it was the Book of Pook, maybe, but it was someone's dating handbook, and he had it laid out. He was checking his notes. He had stuff highlighted. He had things underlined. And all the great seducers have studied seduction. They've studied game. They've studied women. They've studied sex. And they study, and then they apply it in real life scenarios. You're going to have, and then you look at the vast majority of men out there, and I mean like 99%, who have no concept of any of this stuff. One, they have no interest. Two, they don't know it exists. And three, it doesn't serve the women in their life any. It would serve them, but the women think that the less he knows, the better. And that's how they operate. So they're never going to catch a hint that this exists, and they kind of stumble along. And unfortunately, it ends in divorce and broken families and broken homes, and girls are unhappy. But you have to, because we know that you can, in a systematized, predictable, repeatable manner, move a girl from a complete stranger to naked in your bed 90% of the time with the right people, because you get better at picking who you're taking out with. You pick yes girls, not maybe or no girls. Again, it's the who we pick over time because we get better at it. But when you first learn game, before it's internalized, again, you internalize it by repeating the same behaviors over and over and over till it becomes your reality. When you first start learning game, you have to study. You have to pay attention. I spent the first year to 2 years actively applying and studying Chateau Heartiste. I would read Chateau Heartiste for at least 1 hour every evening before I went to bed. 1 hour in the evening, last thing I did. And I invested. And again, it was internalizing it and then putting it into play on the ground. And again, one thing that I had trouble with was always kind of keeping the conversation going. So I had a cheat sheet in my pocket that I would refer to and have open-ended questions that, God, that thing is actually in my book, How to Build a Dating System. There's probably like 50 questions on there. So there's something for everyone at some point. But you have to be able to ask questions and get her talking, because she's the most interesting thing she knows. But if I did run out of things to say and started to choke, I could use that cheat sheet. But again, you have to study this stuff. It's not going to happen by chance or by osmosis. You actually have to invest your time into it and then apply it or test it in the field. Again, you will find what works best for you, and that this stuff does actually work. I mean, that's the one thing. I've had a lot of guys reach out and they're like, I was kind of skeptical, but I actually tried it, and this shit does work. Remember, it doesn't all work for everyone, but most of it will work for you. And that's one thing that we found over time, again, because people are predictable, especially girls.